If you have ever wanted to build the ultimate freestyle drone, we have got you covered. Welcome to the UAV Futures Freestyle 2024 build, and this is it right here. And off the bat, have you ever seen a better looking drone? This thing, it is absolutely gorgeous. It flies even better. I mean, check this out. You're gonna have so much fun with this. And in this video, we're gonna show you how to put it together, all the steps needed, and it is so easy to get up and get flying, build your own one of these from scratch. So whether you're new to the hobby or you're a seasoned pro, you're gonna wanna see this, and even better, if you build it, you are gonna have a fantastic time. With that all said and done, in the past, I have focused on doing some really cheap builds, some budget builds. This is all about the user experience. We have built one of the best freestyle drones that you can, the premium user experience. You're gonna have so much fun with this. The stuff inside, we're talking like the latest digital Moonlight cameras from Walksnail. We've got ND filters you can clip on the front, clip them off. It's rocking 6S. It's got gorgeous motors on here. It is so clean, Mamba stacks. This is like your dream freestyle build. So let's jump in. Bring you along, I'll show you the tools that you need, and then let's get started. It is really easy as well. So if you've never built a drone before, don't worry. After watching this video, I bet you think, man, I can do that. And after seeing it fly, you're gonna think, yeah, I want to do that. So let's do it. Little bonus, if you want one of these for free, just put a comment down below, watch the video, because while I'm building this, I've got so many parts to give away to you guys, like frames, motors, electronics, propellers, all this stuff here, while I was building this, is ready to go out to a new owner. So put the comment down below, watch the video, and let's get on with building one of the best drones in 2024. Let's look at some of the tools before we jump in. Look at the components. You do not need very much whatsoever. Starting over here, we're just gonna have some little side cutters or some wire snips. This is some blue tack, even though it's white. I'm going to put some links for all these things down below. You don't often see this when it comes to soldering, but it is very, very handy. A couple of different hex drivers and a Phillips head driver right here. And then of course, if you've never soldered before, you will need to do a little bit of soldering with this build, but don't worry, it is super easy. We are using the TS100. This thing makes soldering a breeze, and you can run it off your drone batteries as well. I've been using this thing for many years. It is my go-to soldering iron, and I have many, but this is the one I use all the time. Of course, we're using some 6440 lead rosin-filled solder, and then the beauty, if you are those people and maybe look, you're a little bit nervous about building your first-time drone, don't let this build put you off. It is so easy. The Mamba stack that we're using inside with some of the components even comes with a practice solder board. So you can practice the tips that I'm gonna show you on here first before we do it on our actual electronic components on the drone itself. So this little practice board is gonna make your soldering skills top notch, and you've got nothing to worry about. Luckily, it's super easy anyway. It's like one of the easiest builds you can do, but let's do it with a bit of editing magic and show you the components we're using. Thank you very much, editing. In 3, 2, 1. Rightio, here's our components, and when I put them on the bench like this, I can't believe how far we've come from the old days, the dinosaur days of building drones, to how simple this thing is. Like, if you're worried about building, don't be. This thing, it's basically like Lego nowadays. Everything is so just refined, compact. What we're doing here, we've got some top-notch components, so let's get in and show you why you're gonna be building one of the best freestyle drones on the market. Our frame, the basis, the chassis we're gonna be using is this right here. This is the Valador V2. This is from Flyfish. Everything's gonna be linked down below. Go check it out. A very cool, durable frame. It's more durable. It comes with a bunch of TPU mounts to keep everything protected. It's all in all just a real solid frame, and it's got some great battery mounting options as well, so we can simply plug our 6S pack in the back. You're going to be ready to rock and roll. Speaking of 6S, that's what we're going to be using with this drone. We want to have heaps of punch, heaps of power to flip your cameras around, do some crazy dives, things like that. We are connecting that up to some of these Flyfish motors, 2406 motors, so they're a fairly large motor, pretty powerful, 1950 kV, so perfect for some 6S props, which we're going to combine with some Hurricane gem fans right here. They're going to be linked down below. On the video side of things, get set to have some of the best video you have ever seen. We are using the new Caddx Walksnail Moonlight cam, so not only going to get great footage flying around, but also in some low light environments, this thing is going to be right up your alley. And that's why we're also choosing a frame that protects your camera really well, because look, this is really good kit. We want to protect it. And on top of that, we never want to have any fail safes or lose our drone, so we have a rock solid connection. We are using a Radio Master little ELRS receiver. ELRS, if you don't don't know, it's basically the new king of getting your reception to your drone. We're using the ones that come with a dedicated antenna, so we should be having no range issues whatsoever. I can't believe when we put everything here, like how simple it is nowadays versus to what it used to be like building some of these old dinosaurs on the wall. But let's do it. Let's kick it off. The first thing we're going to do, the Valador, look, I've built mine up a little bit so you could see the base shape, but let's put the frame together a little bit, and then we're going to install our flight controller and get started on our build. Guaranteed, it is so easy. Even my 6-year-old daughter could build one of these. All right, let's do it. You get stuck, look, the Valador, it does come with some instructions. Look, they're going to be on the website as well. But we basically just need to get the base plate down, slide some little TPU mounts in the back. Don't forget these, like, I guess, bracket screws or anything like that. They screw up through the base. They hold your arms nice and secure, but now let's do it. We've got our 4 longer screws coming out the top right there. We are going to put on the first component, which is our Mamba stack, so a 6S rated stack. Look, these I think are one of the best stacks on the market. They're like a really good value product. They're not going to break the bank. They've got inbuilt Wi-Fi in the stack. They're beautifully connected up. It's just really, really easy to use. You don't have messy wires. If you don't like soldering, this is going to keep your job to an absolute minimum. We put this on the top right here. Now remember, this is the back. Let's get this in shot. The back of your drone. Simply, you need to put, it comes with a whole bunch of grommets and that sort of stuff. So we're simply going to slide the ESC on first. And I am going to disconnect this because we're going to do some soldering. This is the flight controller for future reference. This part is the ESC. We're going to fire up our soldering iron and we're going to go around and we're going to tin the outside connections so we can easily connect up our motor wires and also our capacitor and our battery lead. So let's do that. Thank you, editing. So one of the things I love about the TS100, it heats up so quickly. I've got mine plugged in to a 6S pack, which conveniently, this could also be one of your packs out in the field. If you break your drone and you've got this soldering iron in your bag and you need to do a little bit of soldering, well, look, you're out in the field flying around, you can do your repairs on site, which I think is really, really cool. Now, the tip to soldering, and if you haven't seen it before, look, I'm going to put some links down below. I've made many a video on easy ways to solder. We can even use the little practice board if you'd like to. So, look, let's get this in here. I'll show you how easy this is. So what you need to do, get your solder, 60/40, everything's linked down below. You simply want to put a little bit of solder on the end of your soldering iron. You can clean it off or wipe it on a wet sponge if you need to clean your soldering iron. And it is in and out. You're not hanging around, you're not putting heaps of heat in, you're just trying to solder up as basically a few seconds to transfer that heat, flow that solder, and then get out of there. So we're going to, let's tin a couple of these little dots right here. A little bit of solder on the end. It is so easy. And I mean, look at that. There is 10 of the most gorgeous little soldering balls you've ever seen. Yeah, that's how easy it is. Practice on that. I've done a lot of soldering. Practice on that if you need to. That's what it's there for. It's a great little product and one of the other reasons why you should think about getting the Mamba stack. But let's do it. We're going to solder up these connections out here. So this is motors 1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as a back lead for our battery lead and our capacitor. So let's do that. A little bit of solder on. The battery leads are probably the one.
Stu from the future here, just editing this. This part's actually quite important. I didn't explain it at the time of doing the video, but those little circles you can see, those little holes, that's for our capacitor wires to go through. So do not cover them with the solder, but everything else is exactly the same. So let's get on with it.
Very nice. There's one. Let's flow this one. Two. And now we'll go through, we'll do the same with the motor pads right here. And then the other side. All right, that's how easy it is. I'm just going to reflow this back one at a little bit of heat just here to help us. There we go. Looking nice and hunky-dory. Hopefully that's in shot. All right, with that all done, you will notice I didn't put heaps of solder on the back pads right here. There's 2 tiny little holes, and we're going to use that for our capacitor because this frame fits this capacitor perfectly. That's simply going to slide in right there. So what you can do, you can slide it up through these 2 little holes at the back. Then we can slide this on. Is this in shot? I'm hoping so. Doing it from underneath right here. We can trim these in just a little bit with our side cutters. Look at that. What a gorgeous, gorgeous fit. I'm going to pull those up just a little bit as well, making sure it is nice and snug. And now I'm going to add the last of the solder just to finish off soldering in our capacitor. Really important, make sure, and look, this is on the instructions that they give you, but make sure your ground is on the ground side, positives on the positive side. If you don't do that, they're going to actually explode. So let's solder these in right now. Again, in and out. Hopefully my head doesn't get in the way when I'm trying to solder these. One and two. All right, that is connected, and now we can give it a little trim because we don't need all that extra part off the top. So there we go. One, two. That's probably the trickiest part in this whole build. Now we're going to install our motors and also get our battery lead on there. So grab the battery. Where did I put that blue tack? Here it is. Let's install our battery lead right here. Now look, these do come pre-tinned, but I always prefer to add a little bit of extra solder just in case. I prefer the stuff that I'm using versus stuff that I don't know what they're using in the shops, but look, let's add a little bit of solder here. And I'm basically gonna overflow this, make it so it's chockers full of solder, shake off any excess, and then I know it's gonna be ready to solder up. So let's do that. Got my ground right. Alrighty, so these two ends, we are now going to solder them up to our main battery lead right here. So let's do that. Positive is on the rear left of the craft. All right, bear with me. As I'm looking over this, I like to see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to show you the finished result here. Otherwise, I think my head keeps getting in the roof cam. All right, there's one. And now I'm going to do the negative as well, or the ground. All right. And there is two. Right, so that is all soldered up. We've got our positive and our ground right here. We are gonna hook that up to a special part in the frame, but we're gonna do that last. Right now, we're going to take our motors and we're going to put a little TPU mount here, which comes with the Valador kit. Then we are going to cut our motors and get them ready to wire to right here. So thanks to a little bit of editing, I'm going to show you what that looks like in 3, 2, 1. Radio, we're 99% done here with our motors, but I do want to show you, look, you can do this on the software programming side of things, or if you're old school, you like to do it, I guess, hardware side. If you need to ever change the direction of one of these motors, all you need to do is simply switch two of the motor wires on that motor. So for example, if we have, let's get this in shot, this motor right here, let's pretend it's spinning the wrong way. Okay, let's change that. Let's pretend these are all soldered up. All you need to do is desolder two of the wires and then cross them over. That would be it. So we'd move this one to the first pad and this one here, which was on the first pad, to the middle pad, and then that's it. That would change the orientation of your motor. It is very, very easy. And also one of the reasons why I like to solder in from the outside rather than looping around, because it makes it easy. If you ever need to do that in the future, in the field or anything like that, boom, it's just much easier than taking the whole drone apart. So I'm going to solder this last one on here. We'll get on with the build. Bob's your uncle. That is our motors done. And now what we can do, it's time to install our flight controller, and this is a very easy step because there's zero soldering involved. You get these little grommets that come with that. I think that's what they're called. We're going to slide that on. They're like little spacers. I'm going to use that and slide them on right here. So then when we get our flight controller, we're going to plug that in the front. There is a little port connection, which means normally you have to solder up all these connections to the flight controller to talk to the ESC. The Mamba stack, you don't have to do that. So let's slide this in. It's only going to go in one way. just like that. You can push it down pretty firm. It should be a snug, but not forcing anything. And then we're going to put this on the top right here, making sure this little arrow, there's a tiny little arrow at the top right here, is facing the front, because that's going to be important when we're telling our gyro inside our craft what to do. And then that goes on the top like so. And boom shakalaka, we've now installed our flight controller. Now, if you open up the little Mamba stack with some of the extras, I'm going to screw this down right now. It comes with some little, I guess, plastic screws, plastic nuts you can put on the top there. Simply going to put them on. It's going to hold our flight controller down. VTX time, and the first thing you will notice is we're using a plug on our Moonlight camera, so it means we only have to solder up the connections to the flight controller once. Take about an inch off in this case. Like I said, always better to have too much than too little, so we want to have a little bit more room to play with. And if you ever want to use this in another build, it's nice to not have to stretch your cords or make them a little bit longer. We're going to solder 4 pads right here. If you are getting stuck, it is this part right here in your manual. So we've got our 9-volt out, which is this one, and then the middle one is a ground. Then it is a TX and RX, which is right here. There's TX and there's our RX, and then we can simply connect that up. Now, when you're soldering this up as well, it's important to remember that RX goes to a TX and a TX goes to RX. It's like a talker and a listener. You can't have 2 talkers talking at the same time, or 2 people listening to each other when no one's talking. It just isn't going to work. So you need a talker and a listener. You need a transmitter and a receiver, which is what the RX and the TX are. So check your thing. Like I mentioned, it says here that TX, the one that we're working at, is this pad right here, which means that needs to be connected to our RX on our video. And an easy way to check that, it does come with a little piece of paper as well, but you can see when it's plugged in here, I love it, it's just written on right here. So we're going to wire that up, add a little bit of solder, and then that can simply, this doesn't need to be connected like that. We can simply put this on here. That's done like that. Now you can do all the rest, so we might as well do that while we're here. I just did that one separately before I forgot. Okay. So with that soldering out of the way, what we're going to do now, we do need to do a little mod before I'm just going to use a simple solution to tape down our VTX on the back of our craft. However, take your soldering iron, and because the new Moonlight camera comes with 2 antennas, there's 2 little parts on the TPU right here, which we need to extend just a little bit to make a, so very quickly we're going to zip, zop, and that is done. That's all you need to do. And now take the antennas from your kit. You should be able to, you want the hole just to be big enough to slide the little UFL connector down. There we go. And then we should be able to snugly press down the little top of the antenna right there into that hole. There we go. That's 1. And time for my other antenna right here. There we go, 2. So now both of our antennas should be coming out the back like that. Nice and uniform, nice and clean. Don't spend too much time in there melting that plastic. It's literally, like most of this build, in and out. Now that's done, let's put these antennas into the back of our Moonlight VTX. There's a little plate you can take off the back here with 2 tiny little Phillips head screws, and then you're going to connect these UFL connectors over the top of those little antenna mounts right there. So let's do that. You may need something to sort of get a bit of leverage. Bear with me, I'm going to sit this on a flat surface, put this in, and then press it down from the top. The last thing you want to do is break this. There's 1. There we go. Alrighty, once that's done, that's probably the most finicky and annoying part of the build. Slide your little cover back in, and that's going to stop your antennas getting ripped out if you have a crash or anything like that. And let's get this around the right way, which is like this. Alright, screw those down with the little screws that it comes with. All right, so we've soldered in our VTX. It's almost ready for installation. There's just a couple more things we need to do. It's through our back plate right here as a bit of a recap. We've put the antennas on, we've screwed them down, and then all we need to do to connect this up is simply get this plug out of here, plug that in, and it's going to be ready to go. Now, I'm not going to do that straight away. We're going to finish our soldering. We're going to put our receiver on there right now. So get your receiver out, and this step, it's so easy. It's very easy labeled. It comes with some little cables as well, or wires. This is the receiver we're using right here. Of course, like before, we're going to solder it up, so let's get started on that. And look, it's so easy. You should be a pro at this now. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And luckily, this is labeled for us as well if you ever need to. You can always check on the back to see what it's got. So we've got our ground, voltage, TX, and RX. So let's put those on right now. So our ground, we're going to use our black wire. Ground. Voltage, always red. And then it doesn't matter what color you use for these two as long as you remember which is which. Oh. Oh my gosh. All right, and we're going to solder that up to our flight controller using these pads right here. TX, RX, ground, voltage. So that's what we need to remember. Let's do that right now. So TX, RX, ground, ground and voltage. And then I'm going to trim my wires ever so slightly because this is going to be running in the back right about, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to probably trim about 1/2 inch off them, or a centimeter and a half. So I'm going to cut those off right there. And the plan, this is going to go on the back of our craft and sort of sit underneath our VTX. So we're going to mount the VTX sort of to the top plate. So because it's got some nice wires on here, let's strip these. All right, now let's solder this up. We're actually going to solder these this way because we're going to feed these wires through the middle of our board. So let's get that in shot. We're going to do the voltage wire first, which is this red wire right here. There's our voltage. Then we had our ground. And then next is the RX pad, which connects to our TX. So that's the white cable right there. And then finally, we're going to be connecting up to our TX pad. Sorry about that background noise as well. Someone is literally cutting down a tree and sending it through a chipper, so a wood chipper. So sorry if that's coming through on the mic. All right, and we are almost done. That's basically it for our solder joint, bar one, which is this last, our battery cable right here. That's what we're going to hook up in just a second. So we're going to be wiring it to this right here. So this makes a very easy plug when it's in the top of our craft. Get this around the right way. Simply plug it in. You don't have any extra balance leads or anything hanging out like that. A very nice, clean, elegant solution. So we're going to need to trim again. We don't want too much just here, but you don't want to take off, do a little bit of measuring. For me, I plan to run it flat and up the back. So again, cutting off about 3/4 of an inch. Let's snip it about there. And I'll do the same on this one. So let's say about there. Strip these wires. What we're going to do, we're going to add a little bit of heat shrink just over here to protect it from any shorts, but I doubt that's going to happen anyway. It's a very nice, clean build. Slide the heat shrink over there, and we're going to connect this up to our battery connector right there. So the flat side is the positive. It's labeled anyway if you're getting stuck. Let's add a little bit of solder to these joints. Alrighty, And using my Blue Tack, get that in shot. Let's put these on. Whew, gets a bit warm. Heat shrinks on. The only thing left to really do is we're going to be adding our little antenna in right here, and that's really easy. It just clips in to our little UFL port here on our receiver. But this is where the magic of the build happens. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the magic of editing. I'm going to clap my hands and you'll see how I fit everything together. It's a little bit like a jigsaw puzzle, but I'll show you the end result that I can't wait for you to see in 3, 2, 1. Boop. Radio, there it is. And let me say, this drone looks even better than I envisioned. This is one of the best looking drones I have ever seen. I'll show you how I jigsawed it together in the end. So we'll start at the front. Of course, we've got our little ND filter right here that can pop off. And I actually removed the little camera mount that it came with, and I decided to invert these. It comes with some black little plugs actually. I inverted them, and that let me sort of soft mount the camera in the middle right there. Flipping it to its side, you can see I ran the battery leads, which soldered up to this bit on the top right there underneath, and I put our VTX on the top. And then all I had to do was screw down right here. There is a few quick little steps. I'm going to put my ND filter on right there. That should protect our lens as well. But the last things we need to do is put our props on. Now actually, when I tested this on the computer, check the programming, mine is running in reverse orientation, so I don't need to do anything to change that. So I'm going to put my propellers on right here. So let's do that. I'll put a picture on the screen as well, because you do want to make sure you get these around the right way. You've got clockwise and counterclockwise. The last little thing, I put a little zip tie here to help secure the VTX, but I am going to put on, this is like a battery pad, I guess. It stops your battery from sliding around too much, secures it down nicely. I'm going to put that over the top, and then once that dries on there, I am going to try and move this part up like that, just to hold it down a little bit more, and also because you don't want it to block your VTX right there, I guess your little SD card which you can put on there. We need a Velcro strap, so I'm going to slide this in here. Let's tighten down these, and then we're going to get ready for the good stuff. That to the side. Now all we need to do, we can zip this down or tighten this down. All right, that's it. Congratulations, you have just built one of the best freestyle drones in 2024. Now the fun stuff. All that hard work is done. Let's go reward ourselves. I'm going to bring you along to the field. We'll fly this thing around and you will see it is absolute FPV magic. So let's go have a great time in the sky. In 3, 2, 1. Boop.